Hi, I'm Councilman Robert Abraham, and today I'm at the Animal Adoption Center in Dearborn with our CEO, Corey Keller, for Friends for Animals, and Mary Kate Abraham, who happens to be my daughter and a board member on the executive board here at the shelter. Corey, tell me a little bit about the vision and the strategy for the Adoption Center, the Animal Services Center, and overall this community center that focuses on getting animals into permanent homes.
Yeah, so for those that have been following us, we just finished the final phase of our expansion for this facility. And so it's really about now that we're not just a shelter or what you would think of as a dog pound, but more so we're offering services to the public, to our community that we serve. And this facility allows us to do that. So it's really at the catalyst for what's to come, not only right now as we're rebuilding some of our programs and expanding them, but now expanding into 2026 and what that looks like.
And I think traditionally, a lot of the community, you mentioned the term dog pound or animal shelter, think of an orphanage for animals. And this is so much more now.
Yes.
That transformation and educating the public that they have all these resources here, not just for animals, but for people to understand animals. Tell me a little bit about how that education process works and how you get more people involved with taking care of animals in Dearborn.
Yeah, well, obviously first and foremost, we see roughly 2,500 stray animals every year. And that takes a lot of help and support to do that. And that's a lot of people power. And we have a small staff. And so we rely heavily on volunteers from the community to come on board and help us from cat cleaning and cat feeding to dog walking, to taking animals into foster homes. So just because we have a physical footprint, we also have a footprint that expands beyond just these walls with so many foster homes. We had almost 700 animals in foster just last year. But this facility itself now, as you mentioned, it's not an orphanage. It's about preparing animals that have come from, a background where they were homeless or injured, and we're rehabilitating them and we're putting them into permanent forever homes. And obviously that's first and foremost, but as also you've also mentioned, it's about people too. And so we now provide services that we've just expanded from our Feed Fido program, which is a pet food pantry. And we're helping 400 pets in the community right now stay in their homes because of this program. We also offer, and we really ramped this up this year. I think we're going to be doing our third or fourth community pet clinic. But we've expanded our vaccine clinics this year.
Sure.
Because now we have a physical facility to do so. And that offers free vaccines to the community to get their cats and dogs up to date on vaccines so that we have a healthy population out in the community. So we're doing a lot of other people's services. We do a lot of counseling now to keep pets in homes. We work with a lot of other partners now and provide resources to them as well when they need help. We work with a lot of shelters or rescues who, they might not have the resources we have, so we actually will bring on their animals here instead because we do. So we're doing a lot more for the animals, even better quality care than ever before than when we were at Greenfield, which we were limited by our physical facility. And yeah, we're just doing a lot more now. We're expanding those programs.
So you talked a little bit about people power. We have one of my favorite people with me today, Mary Kate. You kind of grew up with animals, as I mentioned earlier, and you stayed involved. Tell us a little bit from your perspective why Friends for Animals is important, why the Adoption Center is so important to you, and why you've made the commitment to stay involved and support animals in need.
Yeah, thanks, Dad. We have had animals in our house for as long as I can remember, animals in our family, and they've played a very impactful role in my life growing up and in the community as a whole. And I think what's most important to me about Friends for Animals is finding a home for 100% of adoptable animals. Cats, dogs, heck, any animal that comes in off the street these days. But really advocating for the animals at a young age, getting involved in the schools. Things like Read for Rover are really important. making small children comfortable around animals and the animals comfortable around small children.
And so, Corey, when you walk around this facility, it's obviously divided up into some segments here. Tell us a little bit about the objective or the programming within each different part of this wonderful new facility.
Sure, yeah. I mean, we were very intentional when we were designing and building this. And what we basically did was we really looked at the framework, ripped off the roof essentially, and looked at how animals move through the building, because there's actually a science behind it. And so we now have like a formal animal services entrance, and that's where our animal control comes in, takes strays in through those doors. That's where our medical team is for treatment. That's where we have isolation for animals that might be sick or that are in the middle of a treatment because they have a highly contagious disease. So we're able to sort of quarantine them off from the rest of the main population. And then as you move through the building, you get closer to the adoptable side or the main adoption entrance. The animals become more and more available. But because they're all sort of contained in what we would consider pods, at any point in time, if an animal were to get sick in that area, I'm able to sort of quarantine it off to separate it from the rest of the healthy population. Because, as nice as this facility is, it's still not a home. And we are dealing with essentially herd medicine and lots of animals, under one roof. So we're also dealing with stray animals, so they don't come with sort of, a little laundry list of I'm sick, this is what I have, these are the issues I have. We don't know that until they come here.
And so we have this wonderful community center. And Mary Kate, with your experience, I think there's this image in the community, like Corey mentioned, of animal control, dog pounds, animal shelters. What would be, as a board member and an active volunteer here, what would be your message to our residents about this wonderful community center?
Yeah, this is an amazing facility. We've come such a long way since leaving Greenfield and having this beautiful new building to support our local animals. I think what's most important is becoming involved, and whether that is as a volunteer or if you are available to foster, fosters are always needed. Corey, how many animals do we have in the shelter at any given time?
Usually it's around 260. And then in the summer months, we could basically double that. And so that's why fostering is so important, especially for, even though everyone loves kittens, we want to see kittens here. And if they're not old enough, we don't actually want them here. We'd rather have them in a foster home because they can help socialize them and keep them away from other types of diseases that might come in through our door. So that's why fostering is so important right now.
So Dearborn has a unique relationship with our nonprofit Friends for Animals in that we have statutory obligations to control animals, to support the animals that are collected, the strays. But yet we've partnered with Friends for Animals on a contractual basis to provide those services in our community. And really, I think the important ingredient of all that is that the Friends have really elevated the statutory requirement that the state of Michigan requires and really expanded that into an advocacy to find homes for all adoptable animals. As always, Corey, as we wrap it up here, if people want to get involved, we know the website is full of information, volunteer, donating, contributing money, contributing in-kind contributions. Where can they land on that page?
Anyone can go to metrodetroitanimals.org. All the information is there. You can find a lot of information following us on Facebook or Instagram, but all the relevant information, resources, what to do if you find a stray animal, is all found on our website at metrodetroitanimals.org.
For this edition of Council in the Community, I'm Councilman Robert Abraham with CEO Corey Keller and my wonderful daughter, Mary Kate Abraham.